Welcome back for another deep dive. And this time you guys have really outdone yourselves with these sources.
Wow.
Yeah. Interviews, lectures, even a personal story kind of tucked away in a 90th birthday book.
Wow.
And it all kind of seems to revolve around this question of exploring the human psyche and consciousness. Really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, and what's really intriguing is how these sources explore these ideas through some, let's say, unconventional avenues: LSD psychotherapy,
Okay.
holotropic breathwork,
Interesting.
and even, wait for it, archetypal astrology.
Oh, wow. Like a treasure hunt for our minds.
Exactly. So where should we even begin with all of this?
Well, I think a good jumping off point might be the work of Stanislav Grof.
Absolutely, a pioneer.
Now, honestly, his name rings a bell, but I need a little bit of a refresher. What's his story and how did he even get involved in all of this?
Well, his story is fascinating. He started his career as a fairly traditional psychoanalyst, but quickly became disillusioned with the limitations of that approach. He was interested in the deeper workings of the psyche, the stuff that traditional therapy just couldn't seem to touch.
So he was already kind of pushing the boundaries even then.
Exactly, pushing the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And then LSD research kind of entered the picture.
Okay.
Now, this was back in the 50s and 60s when there was a lot of legitimate scientific interest in the therapeutic potential of psychedelics.
Right.
And Grof was one of the pioneers in this field, and his research with LSD completely revolutionized his understanding of the human psyche.
So LSD wasn't just like a recreational drug for him. This was a tool for scientific exploration.
Precisely. A catalyst for exploring the unconscious mind.
Mm.
And this is where things get really interesting. He began to notice that people under the influence of LSD were having experiences that went far beyond, well, anything that traditional cytology could explain. They were accessing memories from early childhood, reliving their births even, and having what he called transpersonal experiences, where they felt connected to something much, much larger than themselves.
Okay, that's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So he was using LSD to help people access these hidden parts of themselves?
Yes, and this really challenged the prevailing Freudian view of the mind at the time.
How so?
Well, Freud believed that the unconscious was primarily a repository for repressed desires and traumas.
Right.
But Grof's research suggested that it was much vaster and more multifaceted than that. It contained not only our personal history, but also what he called transpersonal experiences, encounters with archetypes, spiritual beings, even a sense of cosmic unity.
That's a huge shift in perspective. So how did this LSD research shape Grof's later work?
Well, as you might imagine, research with LSD eventually became, well, very controversial and was eventually outlawed.
Of course, yeah.
But this actually led Grof to develop a new method for exploring these non-ordinary states of consciousness without the use of drugs.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's that?
It's called holotropic breathwork.
Okay, holotropic breathwork. That's another one of those terms I've heard but could use a bit more explanation on. What exactly is it, and how does it relate to his LSD research?
Well, it's a fascinating technique. You see, Grof and his wife Christina developed it as a way to induce similar expanded states of consciousness
Okay.
to those experienced with LSD,
Wow.
but using only breathwork, evocative music, and focused body work.
So you're saying that simply by changing the way we breathe, we can tap into these, like, deeper realms of consciousness.
Precisely. It might sound incredible, but Grof found that accelerated breathing patterns combined with the right music and supportive environment could actually trigger profound shifts in awareness, similar to those he observed with LSD.
So holotropic breathwork is like a non-drug gateway to the unconscious.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just about accessing random memories or thoughts.
Hmm.
Grof believed that holotropic states have an inherent intelligence.
Oh.
He called it the inner healing intelligence, and he believed that it could guide us towards healing and wholeness.
That's so interesting. It's like our unconscious mind has its own wisdom, and holotropic breathwork is a way to tap into that wisdom.
Exactly.
But how exactly does this inner healing intelligence work? I mean, does it give you step-by-step instructions or something?
Well, it's not quite as literal as receiving instructions. Think of it more like a deep inner knowing that kind of emerges during these expanded states.
Yeah.
You might experience vivid imagery, powerful emotions, even physical sensations that point you toward unresolved issues or hidden potentials.
Okay, so it's more symbolic and intuitive, like a dream or a vision that guides you toward understanding yourself better.
Precisely. And Grof found that by working with these experiences in a safe and supportive environment, people could gain profound insights into themselves and make significant progress in their healing and personal growth.
This is also fascinating, but I have to admit I'm also a little skeptical.
Sure.
How do we know if these experiences are, well, real or just figments of our imagination?
That's a perfectly valid question, and one that Grof himself grappled with as a scientist. He was initially very skeptical of anything that couldn't be explained by traditional scientific methods. But his experiences with LSD and holotropic breathwork challenged those assumptions.
Okay.
He began to realize that the human psyche is far more complex and mysterious than we tend to give it credit for, and that there are realms of experience that lie beyond our ordinary waking consciousness.
So he was a scientist at heart, but willing to go beyond the limitations of conventional science to explore these uncharted territories of the mind.
Exactly. And that's what makes his work so groundbreaking. He didn't shy away from the unknown. He embraced it, studied it, and developed methods for exploring it safely and effectively.
This is all incredibly fascinating. So we've gone from a psychiatrist disillusioned with traditional therapy
Right.
to groundbreaking research with LSD to the development of holotropic breathwork as a way to access those same expanded states of consciousness without drugs. It's quite a journey.
It is. And it's really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Grof's work and the exploration of the human psyche.
There's more. Okay, I'm officially hooked. Can't wait to see where this deep dive takes us next.
Well then, let's keep going. We've only just scratched the surface of Grof's extraordinary work and what it means for understanding ourselves and the universe we inhabit.
Lead the way. I'm ready to dive even deeper into the mysteries of the mind.
We've been talking about Grof's LSD research and how it led him to develop holotropic breathwork.
Right.
But one of the most intriguing aspects of his work, I think, is his exploration of what he called spiritual emergencies.
Okay, spiritual emergencies. That sounds a little intense. What exactly did he mean by that?
Well, imagine experiencing these profound shifts in consciousness,
Okay.
these glimpses into other realms of reality, but without any preparation or guidance.
So it's like accidentally stumbling into these expanded states of awareness.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be incredibly disorienting and even frightening for those who don't understand what's happening. They might experience unusual perceptions, intense emotions, a sense of ego dissolution, or even feel like they're kind of losing their grip on reality.
That sounds like it could easily be mistaken for a mental breakdown.
And that's exactly what often happens. Grof saw this firsthand. People having profound spiritual awakenings were being misdiagnosed as psychotic and treated with medication
Wow.
that actually hindered their healing process.
So in a way, he was kind of challenging the traditional medical model's approach to mental health.
Absolutely. He believed that the medical model often pathologized experiences that were actually part of a natural process of spiritual growth and transformation.
So how did he propose we approach these spiritual emergencies differently?
Well, first and foremost, he emphasized the importance of recognizing the difference between a true mental health crisis and a spiritual emergency.
Okay, so not everyone who's having a spiritual awakening needs to be, medicated or hospitalized.
Exactly. In many cases, what these individuals need is support, understanding, and guidance in navigating these intense states of consciousness.
That makes sense. But I imagine it must be pretty difficult to tell the difference sometimes, especially if you're not familiar with these kinds of experiences.
Right, and that's why Grof stressed the importance of having therapists and healthcare professionals who are trained in transpersonal psychology, who understand the territory of non-ordinary states, and who can provide the appropriate support and guidance.
So it's not about dismissing the medical model altogether, but about kind of expanding it to include a more holistic understanding of the human psyche.
Precisely. Grof believed that we need a more integrated approach to mental health, one that acknowledges the spiritual and transpersonal dimensions of our being.
This is all incredibly insightful, but I'm curious, how does holotropic breathwork fit into all of this?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it as a way to access these expanded states intentionally,
Yeah.
but can it also be helpful in dealing with spiritual emergencies?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes, absolutely. Holotropic breathwork can be a valuable tool for both intentionally exploring non-ordinary states and for helping individuals kind of integrate and make sense of spontaneous spiritual experiences.
This is like having a map and compass for navigating these uncharted territories of the mind.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It provides a structured and supportive environment for working with these powerful experiences with trained facilitators who can guide individuals through the process safely and effectively.
That's really reassuring to know. It's like having a safety net when you're diving into the deep end of consciousness.
Exactly. And Grof always emphasized that these experiences while sometimes challenging, hold incredible potential for healing and transformation.
It's like those intense experiences, those spiritual emergencies are actually opportunities for growth and awakening if
Right.
we approach them with the right support and understanding.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the incredible resilience and capacity for healing that resides within each of us.
This is all so fascinating, but I have to admit there's one aspect of Grof's work that I'm still uh, a bit hesitant about.
Hmm. And what's that?
His interest in astrology.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I know he took it seriously and integrated it into his work, but it's always seemed a bit too out there for me.
I understand your skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
Astrology often gets dismissed as mere superstition or entertainment.
Right.
But Grof's approach was quite different. He was interested in what he called archetypal astrology, which focuses on the deeper psychological and symbolic meaning of the planets and their influence on our lives.
Okay, so not just like reading your daily horoscope in the newspaper.
Not quite. Archetypal astrology is about understanding the archetypes represented by the planets and how those archetypes manifest in our personalities and life experiences.
But how did he reconcile that with his scientific background? I mean, wasn't he a psychiatrist?
He was, and like I said, he was initially very skeptical of astrology,
Mm.
but through his research with LSD and holotropic breathwork, he began to notice interesting correlations between people's astrological birth charts and the experiences they were having in these non-ordinary states.
So he was seeing patterns, like connections between the positions of the planets at the time of someone's birth
Yeah.
and their psychological experiences.
Exactly. And this sparked his curiosity. He started to collaborate with astrologers, and he began to see that astrology, when approached from a depth psychology perspective, could actually provide valuable insights into the unconscious patterns at play in our lives.
So it wasn't about predicting specific events, but about understanding the underlying archetypal energies that shape our experiences.
Precisely. He saw astrology as a symbolic language for understanding the deeper rhythms and cycles of our lives, and he found it to be a useful tool for helping people make sense of their experiences in non-ordinary states and for guiding their personal growth and transformation.
This is all so intriguing. It's like you're telling me that there's this whole other layer of reality, this web of interconnectedness between our inner world and the cosmos that we're just beginning to understand.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And Grof believed that exploring these connections could open up incredible possibilities for human consciousness and evolution.
So where do we go from here? I mean, we've covered a lot of ground: LSD research, holotropic breathwork, spiritual emergencies, even astrology.
We have.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, and it's important to remember that this is really just an introduction to Grof's work. He wrote extensively on these topics, and there's a wealth of information out there for those who want to explore further.
Well, I'm definitely feeling the need to do some more exploring. This has been a truly mind-expanding deep dive. What else can you tell us about Grof's work and what it all means for us as individuals and as a society?
Well, that's a great segue into the final part of our deep dive. We've explored the terrain of the psyche, the depths of consciousness, and the challenges and opportunities that come with venturing beyond our ordinary awareness. But what does it all mean for how we live our lives? How we understand ourselves and the world around us? That's what we'll explore next.
Okay, I'm ready for the final leg of this journey.
Yeah.
Lead the way. So we've journeyed through the depths of the psyche with Stanislav Grof,
We have.
exploring everything from LSD psychotherapy and holotropic breathwork
Right.
to the complexities of spiritual emergencies. But what does it all mean for us, like, here and now?
Yeah, good question.
How do we actually apply these insights to our everyday lives?
That's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, Grof wasn't just interested in, mapping out the territory of the psyche.
Right.
He was deeply committed to understanding how these expanded states of consciousness could be used for healing, for growth, and ultimately for transforming ourselves and the world around us.
So it's not just about having these, like, mind-blowing experiences.
Right.
It's about integrating them into our lives in a meaningful way.
Exactly. Grof often talked about the importance of grounding after these experiences. It's about coming back into our bodies, reconnecting with our senses, and finding practical ways to apply the insights we've gained to our everyday lives.
So how do we do that? What are some concrete steps we can take to kind of bring these transcendental experiences down to earth, so to speak?
Well, Grof was a big proponent of what he called psychonautics.
Psychoanalysis.
Yeah, which is essentially the art and science of navigating consciousness. He believed that we could all become explorers of our own inner worlds, using practices like holotropic breath work, meditation, journaling, and even creative expression to kind of delve into the depths of our being.
So it's about taking an active role in our own self-discovery, not just waiting for these experiences to happen to us.
Exactly. And while spontaneous spiritual experiences can be incredibly powerful, they can also be overwhelming if we're not prepared. Grof believed that by engaging in these practices intentionally in a safe and supportive setting, we can gradually expand our awareness and build our capacity to navigate these expanded states.
So it's like we're training our minds to become more comfortable in these unfamiliar territories.
Yes, exactly. And the more we practice, the more familiar these realms become,
Yeah.
and the more easily we can access the wisdom and healing potential they hold.
Okay, so let's say we're, committed to this journey of self-exploration.
Uh-huh.
What are some specific things we should keep in mind? Are there any, potential pitfalls or challenges we should be aware of?
Absolutely. It's important to approach these explorations with respect
Hmm.
and a healthy dose of caution. These are powerful experiences that can sometimes bring up, challenging emotions or unresolved traumas.
So it's not all just bliss and cosmic unity.
Right.
There can be some dark corners in those inner landscapes, too.
Yes, that's true. And that's why Grof always emphasized the importance of having support, whether that's a therapist, a spiritual guide, or even a trusted friend who can hold space for you as you navigate these experiences.
So it's like having a safety net, someone to help you process what you're going through and make sense of it all.
Precisely. And it's also crucial to remember that these experiences are just one piece of the puzzle. The real work is in how we integrate them into our everyday lives, how we use the insights we gain to become more compassionate, more loving, more connected to ourselves and the world around us.
So it's not just about having, cool experiences. It's about becoming better human beings.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about using these experiences as fuel for personal and collective transformation.
This is all incredibly inspiring, but I have to admit I'm also feeling a bit overwhelmed.
Sure.
I mean, where do we even begin with all of this? It seems like such a vast and complex undertaking.
I understand. It can feel like a daunting task. But remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Start small, take one step at a time, and be gentle with yourself.
So maybe just start with a simple meditation practice or trying out a holotropic breath workshop.
Exactly. And see where it takes you. Trust your intuition, follow your curiosity, and remember that the most important thing is to be open to the journey, wherever it may lead.
Okay, I can do that. It's like we're all explorers in a way, mapping out the uncharted territories of our own consciousness.
It's a beautiful way to think about it. And who knows what incredible discoveries await us along the way.
That's what's so exciting. It's like we're all capable of so much more than we realize.
And that, my friend, is the essence of Grof's message. To awaken to the infinite potential that lies within each and every one of us.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on the human psyche and the possibilities for healing and transformation.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, the journey doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep expanding your awareness.
I will. And to all of you listening, we encourage you to do the same. Dive into the depths of your own being, explore the mysteries of consciousness, and discover the incredible power that lies within you.
This is just the beginning. The journey awaits.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Stanislav Grof. Until next time, keep exploring.